Promised you that we would get your Tuesday off on an inspiring note. So next week, the world's top triathletes will descend on Nelson Mandela Bay for the Ironman Africa Championships, where there are 80 qualifying spots up for grabs at the World Championships in Hawaii. Now, to undertake the challenge of training and competing in an Ironman is inspiring in itself. But what about getting the news that you have cancer and only 6 months to live? Then fighting the disease and defying the odds to complete the race. This is just part of Richard Wright's story. He's a man that has won his age group twice in the full Ironman and 3 times in the half Ironman. He joins us now this morning. Good morning, welcome to Morning Live.
Morning, Valen. Thank you for having me.
Okay, so let's go back a little bit before we start speaking about the cancer and about the fact that you are a survivor and currently a fighter once again. You took a break from triathlons for 6 years and then came back and ended 16th in the full Ironman and won your age group in 2008. Has sport always been a part of your life then?
So we skipped a year there. I came back after 6 years and then I think it was 55th. And then the year after that, I think I just discovered that it was something that I was good at and absolutely loved. But yes, sport has always been an important part of my life since I was a kid, from primary school, high school, after school, specifically running. Just always really enjoyed it. And I think what was good about Ironman is I'm not the best runner, not the best cyclist, and I'm not the best swimmer, but put them together, and it's something that I excel at.
How did you manage that, for all the training and, work? You, like many South Africans, managed to achieve these amazing things while still having a full-time job and family and a whole host of other responsibilities.
So it was exactly that. We'd actually just moved from Johannesburg to Port Elizabeth, and full-time work. But it's like anything in life. If you want it enough, you'll find the time to fit it all in. But it really was something that I loved. And I think what happens with South Africans, we've got this idea of endurance sport and we go flat out at it. And I think sometimes we end up overtraining. We do too much a lot of the time. And I think a lot of people do. So it's just finding that balance. And when you do, it's like, most endurance athletes, you get up really early and train in the morning, fit something in at lunchtime, and then in the evening, and then try and fit the family and a job around that. But that's what you do when you love it.
Then tell us what happened in 2015, because you knew that you had a tumour on your pituitary gland and you still went and raced.
Yeah, so it was something that in trying to fall pregnant with our firstborn McKinnon, in 2004 we discovered I had this tiny little pituitary tumour, but it was benign. So we were able to manage it for about 12 years. And then in trying to train for the Ironman in 2016, I realised that something was drastically wrong and I just couldn't train. But I was determined to go and do it anyway. It was a feeling of something big is going on, and I really want to go and do this thing. So very little training between sort of Christmas and Ironman 2016, but it's like, well, for me, it's a DNS. It did not start. In sport is a lot worse than a DNF. It did not finish. And for me, it was just go and take the start line. If you don't finish, there's no shame in that, but just go and do your best.
And then you did actually
And then I finished, yeah. So there was a long day out, 11 hours, 20 minutes. And it was a slog, and probably about halfway through the cycle, my body had already said, listen, we're done. We haven't trained for this. We're not ready for this. And then it's when the mind takes over, and again, how badly you want it. So sheer determination, grit, willpower, and got to the finish line. And
then after that, you went for surgery and found that this tumour was cancerous. And the doctor said 6 months to live?
So not at that point. In fact, it was still that sort of Ironman, I'm going to beat it. I had the op, and when I came to the surgeon, the first question I had for him was, did you get it all? And he was quite confident that he had got it all. It was quite an intricate operation, but he'd removed it all. And at that point in time, I was like, take that. I'd made the mistake of Googling beforehand, and I knew exactly what this cancer was about. And don't Google anything if you're told you've got something wrong, because you're going to get the worst case scenario. And it's so rare. I even battled to find stuff. And then about 8 weeks after that, I had to have routine radiation to make sure that it had gone. And we were hitting the right spot in the brain. And at that time, we found out that it had spread. And then I got the news that it's terminal and 6 months.
But you still decided to carry on training?
So not at that time. It was hard. I think at that point in time, it's very hard not to become a victim. And I did. And in fact, a couple of weeks after that, I'll never forget this moment. I picked up the girls and we had to go somewhere after hours, and I'd had a radiation. It was the 6th or 7th week in radiation and feeling really bad. And Mackie, we were in the car, and Mackie said to me, "Daddy, are you okay?" And I said to her, "Not feeling so great, but if we can just get home, I need to lie down and we'll be fine." And then there was a silence for a little bit, and the voice piped up and it said, "Daddy, nobody said it would be easy." From a 10-year-old, and it was like, "Sure." Yeah, so... Sure. Sorry. So it took a 10-year-old to kind of say, "Dad, you need to find this thing inside yourself." And the very next day, put on running shoes and decided, we're doing an Ironman today. Sorry. Whew.
Sure. You're going to have me in tears too. And that was the first time. And then you went into remission.
So then remission that year. In August, went into remission and then started to train for the next one. And it was the sense if I can just get up in the morning and overcome the thoughts in my head and do something, just get around the block, walk if I need to, it'll be good.
So you've got tears in your eyes now, and you're getting very choked up because the cancer has now returned for a third time, and we've brought your girls on to set because I know that as now a motivational speaker, you left your full-time position in 2017 and you've gone on to become a motivational and inspirational speaker, and you often tell people you need to find your why, and your girls are your why. So welcome on to set, McKinnon and Bailey. Whoopsie. Okay, you've got your microphone there, McKinnon. I understand that every time that this has happened, I mean, how do you guys feel? Let me actually just start there.
So it's very difficult to see someone you love go through such a hard and difficult time, and you try and do your best to be there for them, but at the same time, it's really difficult to stand there and watch and not be able to do anything. So it's very tough.
Yeah, I can imagine. What did you think that after you had said to your dad, you know, it's not going to be easy, and then you saw him put on his running shoes and go back to being the dad that you knew, training for Ironman?
Yeah, I was very proud of him, and I felt a lot of proudness towards him. Yeah.
And
so the best part of that is that every time, like Mac will go through exams last term, and for me she'll be complaining a little bit, and I'll just say to Mackie, nobody said it was going to be easy.
So it's a joke.
So that was a bit of a gift, actually. Yeah.
Beautiful. So, Richard, we've said that the cancer has now returned for a third time. You're still training though. What does the doctor say now? I mean, because they only gave you 6 months. More than 2 years ago.
So any of the surgeons, any of my specialists have said the same thing. If we could pick one person that it should never have happened to, it would be you. But if we could pick one person who could beat it, it must also be you, which kind of doesn't help. But I know it's 50-50. So 50% of overcoming a terminal disease or cancer is the thoughts that go on in your head, your attitude towards it, and whether you believe that you're a survivor, even though you haven't survived yet, or if you are actually a victim of this thing. And 50% is medical science. And the doctors can only do so much, and then it's up to you. So if you're going to listen to all of that, if you're going to take a cancer as this is a death sentence, well, then you might as well put your PJs on and sit on the couch and wait. It's controlling the thoughts in your head every single day. That's what it is. And for me, as you mentioned, this is my why. So I don't fear dying at all, not at all. It's just a change in your living circumstances, and you're no longer living. That's all it is. But what I really fear is leaving my 2 little girls without a dad. That's the part that I fear the most. So sure. So that's the reason.
So you've been an amazing testimony of what mental tenacity can actually do, and I know that you ask your girls all the time, what are your goals for this year? Because you set goals. What was the response from
Bailey?
This year?
So that was the interesting thing. We talk about intentions more than goals. And I said to Bailey beginning of the year, so what are they? And she said, Dad, I'm going to be on TV this year. I was like, sorry, where did that come from, a 10-year-old? Why? And she said to me, Dad, because you're on TV and people interview you and you're on radio and they're going to want you to interview me too. And I said, but why? So she said, because they're going to want to know what it's like being a kid with a dad who's had cancer. And I was like, well, sure. That's quite big. And then I said to her, well, what would you say?
I I said to him that it's hard because he wouldn't.
Can I help you out a bit? She says to me, Dad, you just weren't yourself. You didn't make meals like you used to. You slept a lot. You just weren't yourself. And the funny thing is, you try so hard as a parent to put in a brave face. Hey, you put in a brave face, and you try and hide what you're going through.
Yeah.
And you realize that actually you probably aren't. And that was the first time for me, listening to it at the beginning of the year, was the first time I realized the toll that being a kid with a parent going through something hectic really placed on them, you know, which only makes you why even more.
Yeah.
Okay?
And Bailey, now you got what you had thought you were going to get at the beginning of the year. You're on TV now to tell the rest of South Africa what it's like, but also to show them just how strong you really are as a young girl whose dad has managed to do so much in spite of cancer.
Can you tell Valen what you said? And she says this all the time. And I'll say, she says, have you entered Ironman this year? And I'll say, no, I haven't. And then what do you say? I said, Dad, no, why haven't you? I said, well, because I haven't been able to train so much and because I'm not feeling so great. And she said, but you've done Ironman with cancer before. It's like, what the hell? You should be able to do anything, right? And I think that really is what it is. So my message is, it doesn't matter what you've gone through. And I think that if there's anything that I could show my two girls, it doesn't matter what people say. Yeah. It doesn't matter what you're going through. It's how you think about it. And it's the fact that you just show up and just get to that start line and start. That's the most important thing, and so now it's biting me a little bit. It's like, Dad, why aren't you doing Ironman? You've done it before, you know? Hey?
Do you think your dad's a little bit of a Superman?
Yes.
You think so?
Yes.
What else do you think of your dad?
I don't know.
You don't know?
Every good word that you could describe him as.
Every good word that you can ever think of, that your English teacher teaches you, that's what Dad is, eh?
Yes.
I would say that's a pretty good description. Betty, thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Mac, thank you very much. And Richard, thank you very much for coming to share this story. I know it's just a small part of the story. Will you be racing next week?
No, I'm not racing next week. I'm hoping for Durban half, but yeah, it's just been a bit too much from a training point of view. It's been quite hard. So, but nobody said it would be easy, right? Yeah,
nobody said it would be easy, but you certainly have been an inspiration. Thank you so much for coming into the studio and sharing a part of your story.
Thank you.
That's Richard Wright with his daughters, McKinnon and Bailey Wright. He is a triathlete as well as a cancer survivor and also a cancer fighter. Thank you so much for being with us on Morning Live.